So as I was saying, this is the first webinar of a series of 4 webinars. I think you all received this information. We will have 4 webinars because initially the idea would be to have 3 webinars, but then given the importance of the assessment of the co-creation process by the facilitators, that was a question that has been raised, and I think it was a very important question. We include a section on that, and we will use the 4th webinar to also discuss with you, because actually in the current times there is not a structured, defined way to do this kind of assessment. So we will pioneer also this part of the processes, that is the frameworks and the indicators to assess the co-creation processes. Okay, so today's meeting is about answering a series of questions and topics. I think I will not take 1 hour. I don't know, Emily has changed the agenda because we initially were expecting the participation of another participant, but there will be not 1 hour for sure. It will be 10 minutes. I think we need to change this, Emily, for the distribution. Okay, so it will be 30 minutes presentation and then 10 minutes per each living lab. Okay, sorry about that, because it was a last minute correction done by Emily, because she still had the inclusion of the other participant that I just find out is not able to be here. So for effects of dissemination, the final slides will be revised to adjust the times. So we will tackle a number of issues, and then presentation to keep brief in a 30 minutes presentation maximum. You will be able to raise your questions, so we can, or other participants can provide the answers if we have it. And then this will be also part of the webinar, and that will be useful for other participants that could not attend today. And even for you, if you want to revisit the webinar. So what is the co-creation journey? That is an important question that you have to be aware of, because to be the facilitators of co-creation journeys, you have to have an understanding about it. Then we will go through some principles of co-creation, the fundamentals, the key actors, this distinction that is kind of blurred between actors and stakeholders, and also highlighting the importance of shared objectives in the co-creation, the activities, process, and dynamics. Then the importance of understanding the local context. So these are important issues for the facilitators to be successful in their job, to understand which are the shared objectives, and try to get in close the actors when they are not sharing similar objectives. The understanding of local context, and how to prepare for co-creation, the building of this collaborative framework that you, of course, will adjust along the time, that you adjust also according to the circumstances of the time, the phase where you are in terms of the co-creation, in terms of the developing of the innovative solutions for soil health. Also the stages of co-creation, the journeys to be also clear for you that this is not a linear process. This is an interactive process. There will be back and forths. So there will be what is called the loops, and you have to be attentive to that, okay? We will go a little on that. How to initiate the co-creation process, and then try to synchronize, not in a literally strict sense, but of course there is a need to have a synchronization between the co-creation journey and the Living Lab roadmaps. I believe you all have been working on the Living Lab roadmaps. And Living Lab roadmaps include a part that is called co-creation, experimentation, dissemination. Of course, there are different set of activities associated to these large areas. But of course, co-creation is kind of transversal, and you have to bridge these large areas of activity. You focus on co-creation, but you need to bridge with experimentation and also with dissemination. But and especially the experimentation, because experimentation will be a very important part for the developing of the innovations. And co-creation is about innovation. Sometimes we tend to forget that it's important that we are talking about co-creation as an approach, as a methodology to collaboratively develop innovations. In this case, in the context of soil health. We briefly approach also the monitoring and feedback, but you can find much more information in the co-creation methods toolbox. It's available, the version that is now being revised by internal peer reviewers. And of course, as I told you in the first session we have together, it's a live document. Of course, it will be submitted to European Commission this month, but we can keep updating it, especially by benefiting from your inputs, given now you will have the opportunity to bring a lot of feedback and inputs from your own practical experience in the ground. Okay, so the times will be changed. So what is the co-creation journey? I think it's now clear for all of you. It's a collaborative and dynamic process that actively engage living lab actors in the development of innovative and sustainable solutions. So there is an objective finality that is to develop solutions. So it's not in abstract to do co-creation just because we want to join people and do. It's not about doing participatory workshops. Just no. Workshops, if they are useful to support different stages of the development of innovative and sustainable solutions. In the case of living soil, of course, regarding the soil health issues. So it's, of course, essential in this project, the Living Soil, because it's a project that relies upon the Living Lab approach. So we have also an opportunity to contribute to the development of this approach as an approach to put together different actors in the same level. It's about putting farmers, researchers, and other actors at the same level. That is, of course, challenging and kind of new, especially for scientists. So it's very important to have that mindset that all the people, all the actors value the same in terms of their knowledge, experience, expertise, and skills. So, of course, these are words, but words that you need to be attentive and to be aware. And then the assessment, especially self-assessment, is also a way for you to understand if you are able and what is difficulting you to achieve this dialogue, this continuous dialogue, is supporting the interactive experimentation and the mutual learning in the different stages of the co-creation journey. The principles of co-creation, we highlight three key principles that are already systematized by the scientific literature on co-creation, and also this scientific literature is very much based on practical experiences, some of them driven by projects, others by bottom-up initiatives. There are a very large diversity of initiatives going on regarding the implementation of co-creation in the living lab environments. So there are three key principles. Real-world validation. So actually, what is the difference in living lab comparative, for instance, for knowledge transfer? Is that the soil health solution need to be validated in the real world, validated by the actors, and not only by the scientists or the technology developers. Another key principle is the multi-actor collaboration. I think we talk already a lot about this, putting all in the same level, in the same stage, different types of knowledge, different types of expertise and skills. They are all worth. And the inclusion, that can be difficult, and of course it's a challenge that you are going to face. Of course, it depends on the socio-geographical context of the different living labs. Maybe it's easier in one case, in some cases it's harder in other cases. I know all the context, but you need to try to bring on board the groups that are normally more aside because they are very busy, for instance, in the case of the part-time farmers, because they don't know very well the social context, because they are newcomers, or because they tend to be more marginalized because they are small farmers. They are also busy. They don't feel comfortable to participate in these more formal settings. So please be attentive to these groups and communities, because I think that will add a lot of value to our living labs in living soil. The co-creation fundamentals. Co-creation is a collaborative process, has been told, involves the joint generation of value. So innovation is about generating value, economic, but also social, and also for labor safety and effort reduction, and a lot of value in general sense, not necessarily or strictly financial and economic value, through the active participation of multiple actors and stakeholders. So it's very relevant in Living Soil. You are all aware of that because we are a mission-oriented project and relying on the living labs. What is important in living labs? It's the integration of multiple sources of knowledge, what we call in more buzzword, transdisciplinary approach, okay? Not multi, not cross, it's about transdisciplinary approaches. It's about trying and learning to integrate the tacit knowledge of a farmer, the practical and empirical knowledge he has based on his experience that might be contested by scientists, but we need to be able to understand that source of knowledge that is built on the farmer practical experience and to integrate it with the scientific and technical knowledge. There will be tension sometimes, of course, but the idea is to create new forms of knowledge. This is integrative knowledge that integrates scientific and practical, empirical, tacit knowledge that is not, of course, scientifically generated or demonstrated. Who are the key actors in the co-creation journey? In our case, I think that is clear for you. Of course, the farmers. The farmers are the end users, and they will provide practical insights and feedback from their own experiences. Can be longer or shorter, depending on the farm experience of the farmers, and it tends to be long in most of the cases. I guess most of the farmers tend to be experienced farmers. Some have formal educations, others have no formal education. Researchers, of course, researchers are key actors in LivingSoiLL because we are doing this very challenging, not only LivingSoiLL, but all the Living Labs in Soil Mission are doing this very challenging approach to combine scientists with farmers in the experimentation in the context or endeavor. The industry that supports the co-development of technological and economical feasible solutions. Also very important, the farm-based organizations. They are normally used to bridge directly with the farmers, and in some cases they can be very important to bridge scientists with the farmers. Also the non-governmental organization, they can facilitate the community engagement, the acceptance of the scientists in the ground, the bridging between the different groups. And also the policymakers, of course, because they are important to enable regulatory support and especially for scaling up innovations. So one of the questions that has been raised by the LivingSoiLL, I think we are not the only project raising this question, but it's kind of new question because even the scientific literature focus very much on stakeholders. And I think we found out, not only us, but along the working package too, it started with the task, the first task of the governance models and roadmaps and so on. It was important to distinguish. Of course, the distinction it's not straightforward, of course, between actors and stakeholders. Actors will be the participants that will be always there. So individuals or groups will play an active and direct role in developing, testing, and implementation of solutions. The partners of it, the formal partners, of course, but also the farmers, the end users, and some advisors, even some politicians, and even some non-government organizations can be actors since they participate active and directly. Stakeholders are interested parties. that may not be directly involved in all these co-creation journeys. They can participate at some points, but may not be directly and continuously involved. They are important to provide political, financial, and social support. We have already an important stakeholder, that is the European Commission, that funded the Living Soil. And of course, we have to apply to a number of criteria that were already imposed or established by the definition of the calls for these kind of projects. Again, we have this in these two slides. We have a more detailed overview on the actors and the stakeholders. I will not expend much time on this, but the actors we already discussed. Who are the actors? Who are the key actors in LivingSoiL? And so I will focus on the strategies for engaging actors, because it will be an important role for the facilitators to be able to engage actors and to understand when the obstacles arise. So the participatory co-creation, the idea is to involve actors in all the stages of the project, and not just in more advanced stages, because if people are involved from the beginning, they will feel lagged. They can also feel marginalized. So you have to be attentive to the persons and actors as a persons. Actors are persons that have feelings, and sometimes they can have also misperception. So we have to be attentive to that, to try to meet their needs and expectations. To meet their needs and expectations, we also have to know which are the needs and expectations, and that is not an immediate thing. Of course, we can do sessions, we can understand the needs and expectations in one moment, but then if we meet the same person again, probably that will change a little. So it's kind of a fuzzy dynamic thing, but I think it's important to be always in synchrony what are the needs and the expectations, and also to prevent people to be changing this all the time. So people also have to be responsible for what they want actually from the Living Lab. And that is part of the clear and transparent communication. It's not only a responsibility of the facilitator, it's also responsibility or shared responsibility of all the actors. If the farmers hold the information or are not transparent, of course, we have a problem. The facilitator can try to tackle the problem, but in some cases it might be difficult, and it's not a problem of the facilitator, it's a problem of the person that for some reason is not willing to be clear and transparent. So along the project, it will be very important to focus on building trust and collaboration, or collaboration based on trust. And trust is difficult, we all know. It depends, of course, on the context, on the familiarization between the actors. If the actors are already acquainted between each other, it's more easy. If they don't know each other, when they enter the Living Lab, it can take more time for them to be trustful, because they need to know the other actors, to interact with them, and to understand if they are actually able to trust them. And also about incentives and recognition, that is about offering incentives such as the access to technology, training, and the public recognition to motivating ongoing participation. That is also very important part of the engaging actors, that you have to be attentive, and it's very related to dissemination. Dissemination is not your task, your job, but you have to influence the ones in the project that are responsible by the dissemination, so they will be aware that it's necessary to share things with the actors, so especially to the actors that are not partners, so they feel that they are gaining something with this. They are gaining knowledge, skills. They are having access to technologies, new technologies, and also that they get public recognition. That is a very important dimension. It's the social norm that sometimes tends to be devaluated, sometimes, or probably most of the times. All of us, and in this case, particularly the actors in the living labs and the ones that are not funded, they want to be acknowledged, they want to be important, they want to be part, and they need this public acknowledgement, recognition of their work in the living lab. Well, the stakeholders are very important, as we already explained. And what is important for the facilitators regarding the engaging of the stakeholders? Well, hold periodic meetings to align expectation and ensure stakeholders are informed about the project progress. To provide the regular reports detailing the project advance, challenge, and next steps. Of course, that can be done with other tasks, namely the dissemination task. And the strategic partnerships, to establish strategic partnerships. Some of them are already done in the LivingSoiLL. Others can arise. You can detect and envisage opportunities for a strategic partnership with a stakeholder that can help the LivingSoiLL to be more effective, respecting the co-creation of the solutions or the innovations for the soil health problems. Well, we talk in the beginning about shared objectives, and shared objectives are, of course, a key word, a key goal, especially forgive me, the redundancy. Why it matters? It matters because shared objectives ensure all actors move towards a common vision with measurable results and align expectations. It's very nice to say, but much more difficult to achieve, of course. So we have to work on a common vision, and our role from working package 2 is to support the project regarding how to create this common vision, to align the goals. It's a continuous task to be done, and also to measure, to track impact through clear and relevant indicators. That is a dimension that we will work further, so you can also be able to measure outcomes. We all are able to measure the outcomes of the co-creation journeys and processes. Understanding the local context in parallel with or together with shared objectives, another important dimension, I think, for you, because we already met practically all the facilitators. There is only one living lab missing, but I think you are very well positioned to this dimension, because you are understanding the local context, but don't overestimate your knowledge. I think it's very important to be open to in-depth understanding the local context, the changes in local context, dimensions that we didn't pay attention before starting to have this role. Okay, the 3 key steps: the soil challenge, to understand the soil challenge, to have baseline data that has been collected by the different working package, not only about the soil, but also about the actors. And for the actors, probably you need to, we will go back to that in the second seminar, to do actors and stakeholder mapping, to know well your actors, and also to be aware of the constraints and the opportunities. Where are the barriers, or where are the obstacles, and also where are the opportunities? Who can be helpful? For instance, advisors, farm advisor, consultants, even technological companies or developers, networks, pre-existing networks, and others that you can find useful to help you to identify and overcome constraints and take advantage for opportunities, to make the co-creation go smoothly in the local contexts. Preparing for the co-creation, building the collaborative frameworks. So what is important? Of course, this is a theoretical slide. You need to go to go in practice, to hands-on this, and that is more difficult. But of course, it's important to have a clear governance model. It can be adjusted along the time, but it's very important to have governance models that allow for balanced decision-making, combining top-down and bottom-up approach in our case, because LivingSoiL has this feature that has to combine this top-down and bottom-up approach. And we need to find all the living labs need to have the approaches, practice, mechanisms to ensure the decision making is balanced. Not only done by scientists, not only done by companies, not only done by farmers, but balanced between the different actors. And for that, of course, you need to define the roles. You need to have an understanding who is responsible for what. And people, participants and actors need also to pay attention to the accountability. They have to be responsible and accountable regarding their roles. Also important, I think you have to, that is in large part your job, to ensure these collaboration spaces, not necessarily physical spaces, but these collaboration spaces, physical or digital, or even virtual, not necessarily digital environmentals that foster interaction and creativity, the meetings, communications, formal, informal. Well, you will find the mix, the right mix, or at least you will try to optimize this mix along the time. Okay, so we can move. Regarding the timeline, because it was another question that has been raised in previous sessions, and it's very important that this scheme that is presented in the slide tends to show kind of linear sequence, but if you go to the deliverable, you will see that it's not so straightforward, so linear. Of course, there will be a lot of retroactions, go back and forth, and are doing all the things that along the time. Okay, it's not that we just finished the emphasize and now we are going to move to generate ideas and then we are going to develop solutions. No, of course there is a sequence, and we can always going back and forward like well, silly roaches, but of course when emphasize needs to be continued along the time, and then between especially the ideas generation and the solution development, it's a lot of loops, because when the solutions start to be tested, the actors might understand that probably they need to reframe the problem or envision different ideas. Well, that will be in the practice, especially because this living lab will also in experimentation, and that also facilitates, because the facilitators, some of you are scientists, so you are familiarized with experimenting, and experimenting open air experimenting is also a kind of non-linear process. Okay, so I think we can move. Well, I will not go back to this table. Just an highlight that in this new version of the deliverable, the last line is not key activities, it's the key outcomes. Okay, there was a typo, and because Emily used the table from the previous version. Okay, we also, Emily, please replace this slide. But please keep it just for remind what it conveys. It conveys this interaction between the different co-creation stages and the methods, co-creation method selection. So this is already an information to bridge the facilitators, or to support the facilitators to bridge the co-creation stages with the selecting of the different co-creation methods. And that will lead to the delivering of outcomes, not activities, but outcomes. And it's important for you, especially in the assessment, you can check what you have done, what is incomplete. When you go back, you can register why you are going back, for instance, to emphasize, or going back to reframe problem, why that is necessary. In some cases, might not. In other cases, it might be more intensive. It depends on the solutions and on the contexts. So we can go. Capacity building, why is it essential? I think that is not a thing that I need to go through with so key actions in living soil. The facilitator training, we are supporting that. Of course, it's just part of the training. The experience will give you a lot of training on co-creation methodologies, supporting also strategies for actor engagement. Conflict mediation, it's more difficult because it's very local and context specific. But of course, we are available to, as far as we know, to help you also. And I think that's why governance is so important. And of course, you need to be supported by the leadership of the living labs and the responsible by the experimental sites. Of course, you need to be also empowered, so you can have this agency to take the lead in solving conflicts when they arise. And I believe there will a lot of conflicts. It's normal along the process, and that's not a problem. That is a reality. Then the participant workshops that you can do through different methods and techniques, and also to promote the dialogue and the mutual learning, and that entails the transdisciplinary approach that we already discussed. And also the use of visual tools can facilitate the interaction between you and the actors that you need to engage and to put working together and sharing objectives and so on. So we are getting to the final, initiating the co-creation process. 3 key stages: actor mobilization. The actors need to be mobilized for involving in the experimentation, in the developing of the solutions. The problem frame, that has been already done in part, but it will be necessary to keep being done, the problem framing. And then the protocol establishment, that is about the communication rules, the decision making, the managing of the conflicts, in order to understand and to manage these interactive feedback loops, trying to ensure that we are effective, that we actually develop effective SoilL solutions that meet the needs of the users. Otherwise, we will lost in these discussions or these endless loops. That's not the idea, of course, when we are highlighting the loops. We are just highlighting that it's not a linear and straightforward process, okay? That I just did that and can drop it. No, I need to have a kind of multiple monitor. So I keep looking to, like in a car, we have to go driving and looking to different monitors, you know, the glasses and the car own monitors and so on. Adapt, it's also an important word, to adapt, to adjust to your local context, to your actors' profiles, because they will be different. And I think is the final slide is about the monitoring and feedback. We will have one workshop on this, so I will not go in detail on this, okay? Just in this phase to be aware of the importance of collecting multidimensional feedback from different dimensions, from different actors, the importance of being aware of the interactive feedback loops that often we need to go back to go forward. How we say in Portuguese or many language. One step ahead, 2 steps backwards, and so on. And to communicate the progress in a transparent way. I think it's very important for all the participants to have to be informed about the progress, the challenges, the setbacks, but especially the progress, so they have also a positive incentive to keep engaged, okay? We are being successful doing this and this and that. I think that is a motivational gadget that we need to stick to to go forward. So regarding the monitoring feedback, it's important to be attentive to the frequency. Well, bi-weekly, doesn't need to be bi-weekly, or you can decide. The inclusiveness, because it is a very important dimension of the co-creation, and especially in the living web contexts. And it's a difficult thing that we need to be always aware, to be also a mark or a brand of LivingSoiLL, this ability to actually conduct a number of living labs that actually are inclusive, because that's not always happening in projects, even in living lab projects. And accountability, of course, to define the roles and to share and to inform about the progress, inform about the problems, and to be accountable. So the next webinar will take place next week at the same time. And thank you very much for your attention. And now we have a space for questions. I think now we can turn on our cameras whenever is possible. And you can raise your questions, and we or other participants can answer, of course. So how do you feel about this co-creation journey?
I think everything is clear, but maybe after the workshop about the methods will be easier, because I have some doubts about the methods, about how to deal with some problems. The biggest doubt is how to involve the policy makers in this project. But maybe after the next workshop, it will be more clear.
Thank you, Lydia. That is a very interesting question. Of course, we are recording these questions, and eventually in the future we can have special sessions on particular questions like the one that you have placed. It's a very interesting question. How to involve, to engage policymakers. Other questions?
And maybe another, because as I understand the role of facilitators in general, but what about the workshops? So we need to organize the workshops and meeting, but if we need to be the expert during this workshop, or we need only organize the workshop and need to ask experts to be during these workshops, or it's not important if this two role is okay for us.
I'm afraid I didn't
Understand
very
because
well.
Facilitators needs to organize the workshops. Yes, and during some workshops we need to meet with farmers and to provide the knowledge about the treatment. And in our labs, living labs, we the facilitators, we are also the experts, because we are researchers. And so during the workshops, is it our role to be the experts, or we could ask other experts to be during these workshops?
Yeah, that is also a very interesting question, because many of you have different hats in the living lab. So that's why it's important to define very well the roles, and to even the co-creation models that we insist in the first task of working package 2 is not just an abstract thing, it's a concrete thing. And the question Lydia is raising is very pertinent. Of course, if you're acting as a facilitator, you cannot use the shoes of a scientist. You have to take off your shoes might be more difficult, but if you were selected, it's because in your teams, it was understood that you can choose more easily in comparison to other scientists. So you have to take your shoes of scientist. Of course, you are no longer the expert when you are facilitating the co-creation processes. I don't know.
As I understand you, it means that we should be facilitators and we should invite some another scientists for our living club to be an expert, yes, and we should mostly moderate the discussion, ask some question, ask people to what they have, what their opinion about this project or about this problem. Yes, our role, it will be mostly moderating, involving and asking people to talk about this problem. Yes. And,
yes, thank you.
But to have a
right.
very good workshop, we should have some experts. Yes, some, as we say, practical. Yes, somebody from the policy or community, and we as a moderator. Yes, it will be all actors.
Yes. Okay, we in the next session we will and in place training, we will pay a lot of attention. I think for starting, I think all of you need to go through the stakeholder mapping. You need to know your actors, to need your persons, your institutions, your organizations. I understand this hard job to be on different sides, but to be an effective facilitator, of course, you have to take off your shoes or your hat, if you prefer a scientist. You cannot no longer be there as a scientist, okay? And of course, the facilitation is not only about organizing workshops. It's the thing that we try to highlight in the deliverable and in the next webinars. It's also about, for instance, knowing the actors and the other stakeholders and other relevant stakeholders, and this understanding that it's not a fixed reality. It can evolve. Other new actors can enter, actors can leave. So it's a dynamic process. But for starting, because you have a lot of information already about the actors, so it will be important to structure that information, to map it. It can be in a computer using our handouts, or it can be in a manual way, as you prefer. It's very important to be aware who are the actors, what are the roles of these actors, so you can interact with all the actors, the other scientists, the farmers. I don't know, in different living labs, of course, there are different actors. For instance, in Grojek, you have the producers, you have the farm-based organization, the scientists, I don't know more, input providers, I don't know, I'm not sure. I think we have checked your ID cards and descriptions, but of course we are not completely sure about the type of factors, and then identify them one by one, so you are able to ensure the inclusiveness. Do not let nobody behind. Do not forget. Sometimes we do that without being aware of that, because we didn't probably make that exercise. And even if we are doing this exercise, someone can be missing, but then we will at some point realize that the person or the organization is missing, so we can go back and try to explain why we forgot that person, forget commas that person, and why we are bringing the person or the organization on board. So that is very important to know who are the actors, who are the stakeholders, what are their roles, their needs and expectations, And for that, meetings that can be conducted in workshop format or another format. The meetings are important, putting people together. Sometimes probably it's very difficult to put everybody together, but you can take advantage from some places and moments that the project has. For instance, experimental sites. It's good places to join people around the experimentation ongoing. Using also the try to be in connection with the disseminators. So using these dissemination activities also to enlarge the number, especially for stakeholders. And as Lydia was saying, specific stakeholders that can be difficult to engage in some particular context. So probably we need a specific strategy, customized strategy for this kind of more hard to reach actor or stakeholder. I don't know if I answer, if other colleagues want to complement my answer, because of course I'm also learning this. It's not a closed knowledge.
Yes, I understand. I think your answer is okay.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
and
thank
I
you for
hope
your answer.
we will talk about this problem in not only generally, but specifically in the next meeting.
I don't know if we have more questions. We have other colleagues from Luso Galician, from the Val de Loire, Beaujolais, I think. I don't know. It's difficult to say. Do you have questions, comments, remarks?
Everything is clear. You explained it really well,
Yeah.
this part.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Livia, for the hard work. It's a great toolkit. It's spectacular. So we have some doubts, but how Lydia was saying, with the next webinar and the next workshop, we'll explain some methods that we'll be learning with them and properly use them for different actors of the Living Lab. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We can also complement the webinars with written questions if you, after the webinar, just remember of some important questions. If you can send to us by email or, well, reducing your effort on it will be. Please always put Emily in CC because she's fully dedicated to the project, and sometimes I'm not so responsive to emails. Apologize for that, but it's a lot of tasks beyond LivingSoiLL going on. And so Emily will reply to you, or okay, she will be attentive to the email flow. So if you have questions that arise or that you forget to raise today, please feel completely comfortable to send them by email, and we try to collect them because they can also be useful for other colleagues that could not be today.
Livia, I have one question. We will have access to your presentation, which you performed for us today.
Yes, sure. Yeah,
Everybody?
Emily. Yes, we are going to send a thank. Emily will prepare a thanks email, and we'll enclose the presentation.
Very good.
Because we just need to do very, very small adjustments because of the time and the table that was not an update. Because we are finishing the deliverable, So we were kind of focused on the deliverable, and the next webinars we will have more time, and we will send you the presentation with the invitation. This time was not possible because we are actually very busy trying to comply with the deadlines of the deliverable. Luckily, we complied, so we are happy about it. But we understand also the effort that the facilitation entails for you. So, of course,
Thank you very much.
Count on us, okay? I don't know if there are more questions, comments, reflections.
Hello. Yes, thanks, Livia, for the presentation. It was very clear, and the same as the other. I think the next webinar will be help us to understand and to learn some methods to use it after the different living lab.
Okay, thank you, Axel. In the case of the Val de Loire, we still need to do the presentation session. We'll send you emails to define your schedule.
Yes,
I guess
perfect.
now that you have now the community established, or you still don't have the community established?
Yes, we all is done.
Oh, okay,
All is
great.
done, and with
Okay.
I think you are in contact with Melissa to organize the meeting.
Okay, great. So, do we finish? So thank you very much for your attention, and apologize because of this is a very busy time because of the deliverable, but now you have the deliverable. I think this version already incorporate some of the questions that we raised in the first session. Please read it. It will be very helpful for us to have your feedback as facilitators, as the persons in the LivingSoiLL that will be more direct users of the materials. They are now in this text format. We will try to put it in probably in digital, or no, we will try to improve the format. For now, we have this kind of handbook, but we are also count on your feedback on the content and also on the format. What you would think would be best to make available the co-creation method toolbox. It's a toolbox, so that's why part of it will be in the webinars, but of course the webinars are just summaries of the contents. You will have the documents, kind of an handbook, and now we have to create kind of models or using a digital platform. I don't know what you may think about, and then give us some ideas on the best formats to make it more easy to use for you. Okay, thank you. I think we can close the session for today. For the next webinars, we will include more 15 minutes because we will have, luckily, colleagues that will share their own experience and skills they already got from previous co-creation process they were involved, namely Antonio Graça from Sograp and Jonathan Mission from the Fundação Casa de Mateus. Other participants eventually can join. Okay, thank you.